There's a moment that happens to every trader. You're staring at your screen, watching your account balance swing wildly, and something inside you breaks. Not your strategy, not your analysis, something deeper. Your belief that you can force the market to bend to your will. Most traders never recover from this moment. They quit, convinced that trading is rigged, that success belongs only to the lucky few. But what if I told you that this breaking point isn't your failure? What if it's actually the doorway to everything you've been searching for? The truth is, there's a hidden psychological stage that every profitable trader must pass through. A stage so uncomfortable, so mentally demanding, that 90% of traders quit before they even realize they're in it. They mistake this stage for failure, when it's actually the crucible where real traders are forged. This isn't about finding the perfect strategy or discovering some secret indicator. This is about confronting the person you become when money's on the line. You see, the market isn't just a place where assets are bought and sold, it's a mirror. And that mirror reflects back every flaw in your character, every weakness in your discipline, every crack in your emotional armor. Most people can't handle what they see in that reflection. They look away, they quit. They convince themselves that trading isn't for them, but the few who keep staring, who refuse to blink, who embrace what that mirror shows them. Those are the ones who eventually break through to consistent profitability. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a trader named Sarah. She's been trading for 8 months now. She's read every book, watched every YouTube video, joined 3 different Discord groups. She can explain support and resistance like a textbook. She knows when to use RSI and when MACD signals a divergence. But her account tells a different story, down 30% from where she started. Not because she doesn't understand the charts, but because every time she places a trade, her emotions hijack her plan. Sound familiar? Sarah represents millions of traders who are technically competent but psychologically unprepared. They've mastered the mechanics but ignored the mind. And the market punishes this oversight without mercy. Because here's what most people don't understand about trading. The moment you click buy or sell, you're not just entering a position, you're entering a psychological battlefield where your deepest fears and desires are weaponized against you. The illusion that destroys most traders begins with a single seductive lie. The lie that trading is about speed, about catching every move, maximizing every opportunity, turning small accounts into fortunes overnight. This lie is everywhere. In the flashy screenshots posted on social media, in the marketing promises of get-rich-quick courses, in the whispered stories of friends who claim they doubled their money in a week. But speed in trading is like speed in a minefield. The faster you move, the more likely you are to trigger an explosion that destroys everything you've built. Yet this is exactly how most people approach the markets. They see a setup and immediately think about how much money they could make. They see price moving without them and panic about missing out. They see others posting wins and feel inadequate about their own progress. This obsession with speed creates a psychological trap that's almost impossible to escape. Every trade becomes urgent. Every decision feels life or death. Every small loss feels like a personal attack on your intelligence and worth. And in this heightened emotional state, you make the kinds of mistakes that blow up accounts and shatter confidence. The market feeds on this desperation. It rewards patience and punishes haste. It gives its greatest gifts to those who can wait months for the perfect setup, and its harshest lessons to those who need action every day. Yet most traders operate from a place of constant urgency, as if the market will disappear tomorrow and they'll miss their only chance at financial freedom. This creates what I call the speed addiction cycle. You take a trade too early because you're afraid of missing the move. It goes against you immediately. Now you're frustrated and need to make back the loss quickly. So you take another trade, this time with bigger size to recover faster. That one fails too. Now you're down even more and the desperation intensifies. You start seeing setups that aren't there, forcing trades that violate every rule you've ever learned about risk management. The cycle continues until your account is decimated and your confidence is shattered. Then you tell yourself that trading doesn't work, that the market is manipulated, that only insiders can succeed. But the truth is simpler and more painful. You are fighting a war against time that you could never win. The traders who eventually succeed learn a fundamental truth that goes against every instinct screaming in their head. They learn that in trading, slow is fast and fast is slow. The trader who waits patiently for high probability setups will compound wealth far faster than the one who takes every marginal opportunity. The trader who accepts small losses calmly will preserve capital far better than the one who fights every trade to the bitter end. This understanding doesn't come naturally. Our brains are wired for immediate gratification, for action over patience, for movement over stillness. In every other area of life, urgency often leads to results. In trading, urgency leads to ruin. This contradiction between natural human psychology and market reality is where most traders get trapped. But there's something even deeper at play here. Something most traders never recognize until it's too late. The obsession with speed isn't really about making money faster. It's about avoiding the discomfort of uncertainty. When you're not in a trade, you don't know what's going to happen. You can't control the outcome. You can't predict the future. And that uncertainty feels unbearable. So you trade to feel like you're doing something, to create the illusion of control, to transform uncertainty into action. But the market doesn't reward action for action's sake. It rewards correct action at the right time. And recognizing the right time often means sitting in uncertainty for hours, days, or even weeks without moving. This is where most traders break. They can handle losing money. They can handle being wrong about direction. But they cannot handle the psychological discomfort of waiting without knowing what comes next. They mistake activity for progress and movement for mastery. They become addicted to the dopamine hit of placing trades rather than the slow satisfaction of building wealth systematically. The hidden stage that every profitable trader must navigate is learning to embrace this uncertainty, to find peace in not knowing, to develop comfort with discomfort. This stage has no clear beginning or end. You don't wake up one day having conquered it. Instead, it's a gradual process of psychological conditioning where you slowly rewire your relationship with time, uncertainty, and control. During this stage, everything feels backwards. Your instincts tell you to act, but success requires stillness. Your emotions demand immediate results, but profitability requires patience. Your ego wants to be right on every trade, but consistency requires being wrong gracefully and often. This internal conflict creates a psychological tension that most people cannot sustain. The ones who push through this stage don't do so because they're stronger or smarter or more disciplined than everyone else. They push through because they begin to understand something profound about the nature of markets and the nature of themselves. They realize that trading isn't about predicting the future or controlling outcomes. It's about positioning themselves to benefit when their edge plays out over time. This transformation isn't comfortable. It challenges everything you thought you knew about success, about control, about what it means to win. Most people resist it because it feels like surrender. But it's not surrender at all. It's evolution. Think about the trader who's been struggling for 2 years. He's blown 3 accounts, lost money he couldn't afford to lose. His confidence is shattered. His relationships strained. Everyone around him thinks he's chasing a fantasy. And maybe, in those dark moments at 3 a.m, staring at red numbers on his screen, he thinks they're right. But something shifts during this hidden stage. The pain becomes a teacher instead of an enemy. The losses transform from personal attacks into tuition payments for an education you can't get anywhere else. You stop asking why the market is doing this to you and start asking what the market is trying to teach you. This is where the real separation occurs. Not between the smart and the average. Not between the lucky and the unlucky. Between those who can learn from pain and those who run from it. The market is an unforgiving teacher, but it's also perfectly fair. It gives the same lessons to everyone. The only difference is who's willing to stay in class long enough to understand them. The breakthrough happens gradually, then suddenly. One day you realize you're no longer fighting the market. You're not trying to prove anything or force anything. You're simply responding to what's in front of you with clarity and discipline. The emotional charge is gone. The desperate need to be right has faded. What remains is a calm focus on execution and process. This psychological shift creates a cascade of changes that most traders never see coming. When you're no longer emotionally attached to each trade, you can hold winners longer. When you're not desperate to recover losses, you can cut losers faster. When you're not comparing yourself to others, you can focus on your own improvement. When you're not rushing towards some imaginary deadline, you can wait for the setups that actually matter. But here's what's truly remarkable about this transformation. It doesn't just change how you trade. It changes who you are. The patience you develop in the market starts showing up in your relationships. The discipline you build managing risk starts affecting how you handle challenges at work. The emotional control you master while watching your account fluctuate starts helping you stay calm in stressful situations. Trading becomes a mirror for personal development. Every weakness in your character gets exposed and must be addressed. Every strength gets tested and refined. You can't hide from yourself when money is on the line. The market strips away all pretense and forces you to confront the raw truth of who you are when pressure mounts and stakes are real. Most people avoid this level of self-examination. They prefer the comfortable illusions that protect their ego from uncomfortable truths. But traders who reach consistent profitability have no choice. The market demands authenticity. It punishes self-deception and rewards brutal honesty about your limitations and capabilities. This is why successful traders often seem different from other people. They've been through a psychological furnace that burned away the parts of their personality that couldn't handle uncertainty, pressure, and repeated failure. What emerged is someone who can make decisions without being overwhelmed by emotion, who can accept loss without being devastated by it, who can wait patiently without being consumed by anxiety. The hidden stage teaches you that success in trading has nothing to do with intelligence and everything to do with character. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You need to be the most disciplined. You don't need to predict the future perfectly. You need to respond to the present appropriately. You don't need to win every trade. You need to win the long game. This understanding completely reframes what it means to be a trader. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who picks stocks or reads charts, you start seeing yourself as someone who manages probability and controls risk. Instead of trying to beat the market, you learn to work with it. Instead of fighting uncertainty, you learn to dance with it. The psychological transformation runs deeper than most people realize. It touches your relationship with money, with success, with failure, with time itself. Money stops being the score and becomes the tool. Success stops being about being right and becomes about being consistent. Failure stops being something to avoid and becomes something to learn from. Time stops being your enemy and becomes your ally. But this stage is also where many traders get stuck. They understand the concepts intellectually but struggle to embody them emotionally. They know they should be patient, but they still feel the urge to overtrade. They understand risk management, but they still size their positions based on how confident they feel about a trade. They recognize the importance of emotional control, but they still let losses affect their mood for days. This gap between knowing and being is where the real work happens. It's not enough to understand these principles. You have to integrate them into your nervous system, into your automatic responses, into the deepest parts of your trading. Integration takes time, repetition, and a psychology. This willingness to fail repeatedly while you rewire decades of conditioning. The process is humbling. Every time you think you've mastered your emotions, the market presents a scenario that tests you in a new way. Every time you believe you've conquered your impatience, a perfect setup appears right after you've decided to stop trading for the day. Every time you feel confident about your discipline, a losing streak challenges your commitment to your rules. These tests aren't punishment, they're graduation exams. The market is constantly checking whether you've truly internalized the lessons or whether you're just going through the motions. It's verifying that your transformation is real, not superficial. And it won't stop testing you until you prove, beyond any doubt, that you've become someone who can handle whatever it throws at you. This is why the hidden stage feels endless while you're in it. You keep thinking you're almost through, that the next breakthrough will be the final one, that you're just one insight away from consistent profitability. But transformation doesn't work that way. It's not a destination you arrive at. It's a process you surrender to. The traders who eventually succeed stop trying to rush through this stage and start embracing it. They realize that every challenge is strengthening them, every setback is teaching them, every moment of discomfort is preparing them for the psychological demands of managing real wealth. They understand that the market isn't trying to break them, it's trying to build them into someone capable of long-term success. This shift in perspective changes everything. Instead of seeing losses as failures, you see them as investments in your education. Instead of seeing patience as torture, you see it as competitive advantage. Instead of seeing discipline as restriction, you see it as freedom. The very things that once felt like obstacles become the foundation of your success. The irony is profound. The qualities that make someone a great trader, patience, discipline, emotional control, long-term thinking, are exactly the qualities that most people spend their lives trying to avoid developing. We live in a world that rewards speed, celebrates instant gratification, and promotes shortcuts over systems. Trading demands the opposite, and that contradiction is what makes it so psychologically challenging. But for those who navigate this hidden stage successfully, the rewards extend far beyond financial gain. They develop a clarity of mind that serves them in every area of life. They build confidence that comes not from never failing, but from knowing they can handle failure gracefully. They cultivate patience that allows them to see opportunities others miss because they're too busy chasing immediate gratification. This transformation isn't just about becoming a better trader, it's about becoming a better human being. The market forces you to confront your weaknesses, but it also reveals your potential. It shows you what you're capable of when you stop limiting yourself with fear, impatience, and the need for constant validation. The hidden stage every profitable trader must pass through isn't really hidden at all. It's happening right in front of everyone. The difference is that most people are looking in the wrong direction. They're focused on the charts, the indicators, the strategies, the external mechanics of trading. But the real action is happening inside. The real battle is being fought in the space between your ears. The market doesn't care about your technical analysis. It doesn't reward you for knowing the latest trading technique or for having the most sophisticated software. It rewards you for becoming the kind of person who can execute a simple plan consistently over time, despite fear, despite greed, despite the countless psychological traps that destroy everyone else. This understanding creates a psychological paradox that most traders never resolve. You want control, but the market demands surrender. You crave certainty, but trading requires dancing with doubt. You need immediate feedback, but mastery unfolds over years of patient practice. Most people cannot hold these contradictions in their mind simultaneously, so they choose sides. They either try to control everything and burn out, or they surrender completely and drift without purpose. The successful trader learns to live in the tension between these extremes. They develop what I call strategic surrender. This means giving up the illusion of control while maintaining absolute discipline in execution. You cannot control whether your next trade wins or loses, but you can control every aspect of how you enter, manage, and exit that position. This distinction changes everything. When you stop trying to control outcomes and start controlling process, stress dissolves. When you stop predicting the future and start responding to the present, clarity emerges. When you stop fighting uncertainty and start using it as your edge, confidence builds. But most traders resist this shift because it feels like giving up. Their ego interprets strategic surrender as weakness, as admission of defeat. They would rather maintain the exhausting illusion of control than embrace the liberating reality of discipline within uncertainty. This resistance keeps them trapped in cycles of emotional trading, revenge positions, and blown accounts. The hidden stage forces you to confront this resistance. Every trade becomes a choice between ego and execution, between control and process, between fighting the market and flowing with it. The market will present you with scenarios specifically designed to trigger your need for control. A perfect setup that gaps against you at the open. A winning position that reverses just before your target. A losing trade that would have been profitable if you had held just 5 more minutes. These situations aren't random. They're the market's way of testing whether you've truly transformed or whether you're just pretending. Your response to these tests reveals everything about your psychological development. Do you get angry and try to force the next trade? Do you abandon your rules because this time feels different? Do you increase your position size to make back what you lost faster? The market watches your response with perfect attention. It remembers how you handle pressure. It notes whether you stick to your plan when emotions run high. It observes whether you've truly integrated discipline or whether you're still relying on willpower and hope. And it will continue testing you until you prove, beyond any doubt, that you've become someone who can handle whatever it presents. This testing process never really ends, but it does evolve. In the beginning, the market tests your basic discipline. Can you follow your entry rules when FOMO strikes? Can you take your stop loss when pride screams at you to hold? Can you size your positions appropriately when greed whispers about bigger profits? As you pass these foundational tests, the challenges become more sophisticated. The market starts testing your patience during extended periods of choppy, directionless movement. It tests your adaptability when your previously reliable strategies stop working. It tests your emotional stability during unexpected winning streaks that might make you overconfident, or losing streaks that could shatter your resolve. Each level of testing reveals new layers of psychological complexity you never knew existed. You discover that confidence can be as dangerous as fear. You learn that winning streaks can destroy discipline faster than losing streaks. You realize that your biggest enemy isn't the market or other traders, but the voice in your head that never stops commenting, judging, and trying to make everything about your personal worth. The breakthrough happens when you stop taking these tests personally. You begin to see them as the market's way of helping you grow, not trying to destroy you. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to strengthen your psychological foundation. Every setback becomes feedback about areas where your development needs attention. Every uncomfortable moment becomes proof that you're being pushed beyond your current limits toward a higher level of capability. This reframe transforms your entire relationship with difficulty. Instead of seeing losses as punishment, you see them as tuition for the most expensive and valuable education you'll ever receive. Instead of seeing patience as torture, you see it as your competitive advantage over traders who need constant action. Instead of seeing discipline as restriction, you see it as the foundation of freedom. The psychology of successful trading isn't about eliminating emotions or becoming some kind of robot. It's about developing a different relationship with your emotions, one where they inform you without controlling you. Fear can alert you to over-leveraging without paralyzing your decision-making. Excitement can signal high-conviction opportunities without causing you to abandon risk management. Frustration can indicate that you need to step back and reassess without pushing you into revenge trading. This emotional maturity doesn't develop overnight. It emerges through thousands of small choices made under pressure. The choice to follow your stop-loss, even when the trade feels like it might turn around. The choice to wait for your perfect setup, even when the market is moving without you. The choice to keep your position size consistent, even when you feel absolutely certain about a trade. Each of these choices is a deposit in your psychological bank account. Over time, these deposits compound into unshakable confidence. Not the false confidence of someone who hasn't been tested, but the deep confidence of someone who has faced their worst fears and emerged stronger. This is confidence built on evidence, on a track record of making the right choice when it mattered most. The hidden stage teaches you that trading is fundamentally a character-building exercise disguised as a financial endeavor. The market doesn't just test your technical knowledge or your ability to read charts. It tests your integrity, your patience, your humility, your resilience, and your commitment to growth. It reveals whether you're someone who can maintain standards under pressure, or someone who abandons principles when things get difficult. This character development happens in ways you never expect. You discover reserves of patience you didn't know you possessed. You develop tolerance for uncertainty that serves you far beyond trading. You build discipline that affects every area of your life. You cultivate emotional stability that allows you to make better decisions in relationships, career, and personal challenges. The trader who emerges from this hidden stage is fundamentally different from the person who entered it. They've been stripped of illusions about control, forced to confront their deepest fears, and rebuilt on a foundation of disciplined response rather than emotional reaction. This transformation is invisible to outside observers but creates an internal strength that becomes the bedrock of long-term success. Most people underestimate how profound this change really is. They think trading success is about finding the right strategy or getting better at technical analysis. But strategies are just tools, and tools are only as effective as the person wielding them. The same strategy that destroys one trader's account will generate consistent profits for another, not because of superior intelligence or luck, but because of superior psychology. The market rewards psychological development more than any other factor. It doesn't care how smart you are if you can't control your emotions under pressure. It doesn't value your analysis if you abandon it the moment fear creeps in. It doesn't respect your knowledge if you can't translate it into disciplined action when money is on the line. This is why the hidden stage feels so disorienting. Everything you thought mattered about trading, the technical indicators, the chart patterns, the economic analysis, suddenly seems secondary to internal factors you never considered. Your success or failure hinges not on your ability to predict price movements, but on your ability to execute your plan regardless of what price does. This shift from external focus to internal mastery marks the beginning of real transformation. You stop asking what the market will do and start asking what you will do. You stop trying to be right about direction and start trying to be consistent in execution. You stop measuring success by individual trades and start measuring it by adherence to process over extended periods. The psychological demands of this transformation explain why so few traders reach consistent profitability. It's not because the markets are impossibly complex or because the competition is too sophisticated. It's because most people aren't willing to do the internal work required. They want the external rewards without the internal development. They want the profits without the personal growth. They want the destination without the journey. But the market won't be cheated. It demands authenticity. It requires you to become someone worthy of the success you seek. It forces you to develop qualities that most people spend their lives avoiding. Patience in a world of instant gratification, discipline in a culture of convenience, emotional stability in an age of reactivity, and long-term thinking in an environment that rewards short-term results. The hidden stage strips away every shortcut, every excuse, every comfortable illusion that prevents real growth. It forces you to confront the gap between who you are and who you need to become, and it won't let you progress until that gap closes through genuine development rather than temporary willpower or superficial changes. This is why breakthrough feels so sudden, even though the preparation took years. You've been building psychological muscle in ways you couldn't see. You've been developing emotional resilience through countless small challenges. You've been strengthening your discipline through daily choices that seemed insignificant at the time. Then, one day, you realize that the things that used to trigger you no longer have power over you. The market movements that once sent you into emotional spirals now barely register. The uncertainty that used to paralyze you now feels like familiar territory you can navigate with confidence. The hidden stage isn't something you graduate from, it's something you learn to inhabit. Like a master craftsman who never stops refining their technique, the successful trader never stops working on their psychology. The difference is that what once felt like torture now feels like home. The uncertainty that used to paralyze you becomes the environment where you thrive. The pressure that used to break you becomes the force that sharpens your focus. This isn't just about trading. It's about who you become in the process. The patience you develop waiting for perfect setups transforms how you handle every challenge in life. The discipline you build managing risk becomes the foundation for achieving any long-term goal. The emotional control you master watching your account fluctuate gives you strength to navigate any crisis with clarity and grace. The market was never your enemy. It was your teacher. And the lesson was never about charts or indicators or strategies. The lesson was about you. About discovering what you're truly capable of when you stop limiting yourself with fear, impatience, and the desperate need for immediate validation. About learning that real strength comes not from never falling, but from getting back up with more wisdom each time. If this changed how you see trading, subscribe for more lessons in patience and discipline. The journey of transformation never ends, but it gets easier when you're not walking it alone. Now tell me in the comments, what's the biggest mindset shift you've made so far? Your breakthrough might be exactly what another trader needs to hear.